We already showed you how to construct a confidence interval using the formulas. Now I want to revisit an example that we worked on earlier, but show you how to use the TI-84 calculator to obtain the same results. Recall that we had an example where our sample size was 950, our sample proportion was 0.53 or 53%, and we were asked to build a 95% confidence interval estimate of the population proportion P. There are a few numbers here that we will need to enter into our calculator. We will need the sample size, which is 950. P hat is not going to be something that we enter in our calculator, but we'll use P hat and N to calculate what is known as X, the number of values that have the characteristic that we are interested in. So X is going to be equal to P hat times N. So in this case, that's 0.53 times 950. And if we go ahead and figure out what that is, I got 503.5. So I'm going to go ahead and round that up to 504 because X must be a whole number. So we have that the sample size is 950. Our sample proportion was 0.53, and we used those to calculate X, which is 504 when rounded to the nearest whole number. To calculate a 95% confidence interval using our calculator, we're going to use the command under the following path: stat tests and 1 prop z int. That stands for 1 proportion z interval. You may have to scroll down in that menu to find this command, 1 proportion z interval. When we go to the calculator, we're going to enter the following information. Let me go to my calculator app and show you that. Where did it go? Here it is. So stat, then move to the right to find the tests menu, then scroll down. Don't do the test. You see that number 5 says 1 prop z test. That's not what you need. You need the 1 prop z interval, which is right there. And now it's going to ask us for the values that I showed you just a moment ago. X was 504. Sometimes X will be given to you in the problem, but in this case we had to calculate it. It's simply P hat times N. Our sample size N was 950. Our confidence level, it was already defaulting to 0.95, which is what we want. And then if we go down to calculate, you'll see that it gives us exactly the same result as when we used the formulas to calculate the margin of error and then adding and subtracting the margin of error from P hat. If you look back at your notes, we had 0.498 and 0.562. And so you might differ a little bit because of rounding. Obviously, the technology will give you more accurate results. But this is a much faster way of constructing that interval. On the test, you will be able to use this command to calculate the confidence intervals, but you're still expected to understand how to calculate the margin of error and to interpret the confidence interval and know a little bit about its anatomy. That P hat is in its center and that the margin of error is used to travel to the lower bound and to the upper bound for that interval.